All right. Hi, everybody. We are live. I'm in StreamYard. So if you are leaving comments, make sure you allow StreamYard to see your comments. If this is your first time attending Rock Your Reinvention, I'm so excited that you're here with us. I want to tell you a little bit about the show. In 30 minutes or less, we are going to give you all the tips, tricks, and inspiration you need to reinvent your life by sharing amazing stories of other women who've already been there and done that. So they're going to be sharing their wisdom with us to help all of us do that in many different areas, whether it's health, wellness, career, relationships. Like we're going to hit it all throughout 2023. And I'm super excited for two reasons. One, these used to be out on Instagram, but I've decided to pull them. Kare Maryn, and she and I have gotten to know each other quite well over the past few months. And so I am just really excited and delighted to bring her here to you today. So Kare, with that, do you want to go ahead and just do a little introduction? Tell us about who you are, what you do.
I sure do. I'm excited to be here. So I am a kitchen coach. That is what I do as an entrepreneur. And that means that I help moms make meal planning simple and easy. So mealtime is drama-free, stress-free. You're prepared. You can actually like connect with your family at the dinner table, which is kind of like, I feel like that vision we all have of like, oh, everybody sits down at the table and eats and connects. And then real life is like, not that.
Right.
And
Yes.
so I help bring that back, just the calm, and get rid of the drama and the stress and all the stuff that comes with meal planning. And so I make it simple and easy and something that moms don't dread, which is, a big deal. So yeah, that is my business. I think we're going to kind of get into this, but I was a personal chef for a little while. That's kind of how I've always loved to cook. And then I started doing it for other people and word kind of spread. And just by word of mouth, like I started cooking for families. So I got a really good insight into like, what are moms struggling with meal planning, and why is it hard? And, because sometimes when you're like something comes easy to you, like you can't necessarily see that side. And so I got some really, really good insight about meal planning from being a personal chef. And then we had our daughter, and I suddenly had a lot less time, right? And so I
Yes.
transitioned online to helping moms virtually.
Oh, I love that. And I think a lot of people watching this can probably relate to the feeling of dinner time stress. Like, right. So if you're watching this, like just drop an emoji or like a number one if this is you and you're like, yep, dinner time, crazy stressful. And I know even for our family, like a lot of times when I was in corporate, we would actually all be at the dinner table together. But I was a million miles away, just thinking of all the things I had to do. And I'm sure that's very similar for all the entrepreneurs out there as well, because we're just thinking all the time. And so being able to tune that out and turn it off for a little bit and just enjoy that meal with your family is huge.
Yes, it
All right.
absolutely
So
is.
let's talk about the moment that you know you need to reinvent your life, right?
Mhm.
You're just like, something isn't working, or I have this bigger passion. Like, really paint the picture for us. What was going on? What was that like for you?
Yes, yes. Great question. So I also have a full-time job. I teach physical therapy. I practiced it for a while. Now I teach it. And I absolutely love that. I just love to teach, and that, kind of translates into what I do as a kitchen coach as well. But I was teaching, and I loved it. And then I was a personal chef, and I loved it. Right. And it's like, okay, I have these two worlds. And then we adopted our daughter. And as I said, and as moms know, like your world is just like, it's a whole new world. Right.
Yeah.
And so I took a less stressful teaching position, and wanted to be more present with my daughter, and, just like learning how to be a mom. And so absolutely love my job, but it wasn't necessarily as challenging. Like I love a
Mm,
challenge. I like to stretch myself and learn and grow. And my job wasn't necessarily offering me that, although I
mm,
love it. Right. And
yep.
so it's like, I'm not walking away from this. This is amazing. It's
Right.
really, it's lighting me up in so many ways, but I'm not feeling challenged. And so that's when I was like, my I want to transition what I did with cooking online. Like, this is going to be a really good outlet for my desire to grow and just develop, just new skill, like building a
Yeah.
business online. I mean, just like mind blowing, right? About everything there is that goes along with that. And so that my moment really was like, okay, I'm home with my daughter more, and that is wonderful. And I have this job I love, and that is wonderful. And there is a hole there that is not like this desire to be challenged and do something new and learn and grow. So that was kind of my moment where I was like, I am going to make all of these things work because I'm dynamic individual that wants different things. And so I'm going to try to find out how to give myself all of those things.
I'm so glad that you brought this up because, I mean, there's a couple things that you said. First of all, you loved your job. And I think a lot of people, because I didn't love my job, people think, oh, I can only reinvent my life, or I'm only going to make a change if I'm miserable. And that's actually not the case, right? You can just be like, fine. Like, I'm sure you were like, my life's okay. Like, I can keep doing this job and taking care of my daughter. And also for those moms out there, like, it's okay if being a mom doesn't fulfill you to the nth degree where you don't need anything else.
100%.
If it does fulfill you, beautiful, amazing. That is so awesome. And if it doesn't, like it didn't for me, and we just heard it didn't for Kare, that's also okay. That doesn't make you a bad mom. It's not something you should be ashamed of or embarrassed of. And so I'm really appreciative of you bringing this up so we could just normalize that feeling of loving our children and still wanting more.
Yes, 100%. There are so many pressures and so many stories we get. And I talk about this with meal planning all the time, right? Because culture, society, your spouse, your mother-in-law, like all the things, there's messages that we get as moms, right? And we decide what messages we want to accept and actually go with, and we decide what we don't. And that's one of those messages is like, if you don't love being at home with your child, then what's wrong with you? And it's just one that I chose to not take on.
Oh, and that's the operative word, ladies. If you're listening, chose. You get to choose the thoughts that you want that are going to serve you, that you want to keep in your brains. That's amazing. So now you're running this business, you're teaching physical therapy, very cool. How do you balance it all? How do you manage and ensure that what I like to call life work harmony, right? A lot of people say work life balance, but I like life work harmony because we're putting life first and we're making it just work in harmony. It might not always be balanced perfectly. But anyway, so especially as a busy mom, like how do you manage this all?
Yes. Harmony is a good word. I definitely don't resonate with the word balance at all. And one thing I think that I do much better now than I did. My daughter is 4.5, so that's how long all of this has been going on. And I do it a lot better now. It's like I check in with myself. And like, am I in harmony? Am I paying attention to the things in, my body or my relationship with my husband or whatever, the thoughts I'm having when I wake up that are telling me I'm not in harmony. And so that's something that, I've gotten a lot better at because it changes, right? Like, I don't know anything about music or harmony, but like harmony, like it's a different note sometimes or whatever. Like sometimes my work needs to be like, right now I'm in a really, really busy semester and my job needs to be in a different place in terms of like how much time it takes up on my calendar than, other things. And so it's always like moving. And so the harmony is dynamic. And I get help is, one of the things I would say. I was just talking to one of my coworkers about like, here's a few topics that I would have to put a whole lot of thought into and preparation and time to teach. And like, them like the back of your hand because you simply worked in this physical therapy setting more than I did. Like, let's collaborate here. My husband, like, he does the dishes. So I cook, I meal plan, I cook, and he does the dishes. And not that I don't help him sometimes, and not that he doesn't, run to the store for me sometimes. It's like we got to a place where it wasn't. It's like we're on the same team, right?
Yes.
We're on the same team. What we both want is a meal planned and on the table so we can eat it and it's healthy, our definition, whatever that
Sure.
means. And then we also don't have a sink full of dishes when we wake up the next morning. Like, how could we divvy this up? And
Yeah.
so our natural kind of tendencies fall into place and we're like, okay, we're on the same team. And then there's no like resentment. Like if I have to do the dishes one night, I'm like, this is not a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. So I try to communicate well. It doesn't go perfect all the time, but I try to communicate well um, with my husband and just, let's figure this out. And then I always tell entrepreneurs, moms that stay at home, moms that whatever, like meal plan. That's part of
Yeah.
how I do it all is I meal plan, and it saves so much time and so much stress and so much. I mean, it's just amazing the other side of working with clients who didn't meal plan and think it's this huge mountain that they have to climb. And we simplify
Right.
it and they're on the other side and they're just like, oh my gosh, why have I not been doing this forever?
Yeah. Why
Um,
did it take me so long to start? Right.
yeah. Yeah. And especially in like the online entrepreneurial world, we hear so much about like outsourcing. And that's also a good thing to look at, like what can you outsource? And so just don't forget that meal planning is something you can outsource.
Yeah, yo, such a good tip. And something I talk about with a lot of my clients too, like, the dog groomer, outsource that, outsource some childcare, get a babysitter once a
Yeah.
week and go on a date night, like all
Mm.
these things. But we're like, a lot of women, we have like money issues, right? And we don't want to let go of that precious money. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, because we both met through a business coach.
Mhm.
And to help us grow our businesses and make sure that we're focused on the right things, the revenue generating things.
That's right.
And, it was not a small investment. It was quite a decent chunk of change. And so I'm curious from your perspective, I'll talk about this a little bit. Why do you think it's important to invest in yourself?
Oh, so that is, I don't know, it's almost like remembering back to like when I didn't and like what was I
Ooh.
thinking then? Because now it like comes so naturally to me. I think it's kind of the similar concept to just asking for help where you can and like creating your, the line like it takes a village. Like there's just different places where you need support or help, and especially now I feel like that we're more isolated in the
Mhm.
sense that like I've moved a lot. My family lives all across the country. Like I don't have this just like immediate live in person like village of people that whenever something comes to my mind that I'm not sure about, like I have the go-to person and they're in front of me and I can ask the question. Like that's kind of
Right.
that would be great, right? But that's not how I live. And I know it's not how a lot of women live. And so um, I think we have to put time and money and energy into creating that for ourselves, whatever that looks like. And of course, that can be virtual now, right?
Yeah.
And so it 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 puts a little skin in the game, for lack of a better phrase. But what you get back out of it is so much more than, I think we can all say that money is something, but it's not everything, right? And so when
Yes.
you get more value back and you start to forget even about the money that you invested because what you're getting back is so valuable. Um, I just think it makes total sense. And
Mhm.
uh it's just it's something that you're giving back to yourself. And we don't do that with money, to your point. Like we often don't like to spend money on ourselves. And so there's a lot of like blocks there that we have to get over. But yeah, it just, if it makes your life easier and better and all of the things that you're trying to accomplish in your life get better because you're better, then why not?
Mm. I like that question because, yeah, why not? Exactly. And, you're talking about support, and I love how you said, like, your husband does the dishes and
Mhm.
stuff, and like we have a very similar situation in our house. Whoever cooks, sometimes he cooks, most of the time I cook, but we go back and forth.
Mhm.
And then whoever doesn't cook does the dishes. And
There
I
you go.
literally last night just sat in the kitchen and talked to him while he did all the dishes.
Yes.
But I was
Yes.
like, but I'm relaxing. I just made the
Mhm.
dinner. I did all that work. So now it's,
Mhm.
your turn to help out.
Yeah.
But like you, I don't have, family local or any of that. So when we make these big life changes, whether it's changing our career or getting into a new health regimen or whatever it is, it's always helpful to have support, because the more support and accountability we have, the more likely we're going to stick with it. And then it
Right.
just makes it easier when the going gets a little rough. So, how, in the absence of family, have you been able to build that support network around you?
Um, so I mean, one just example is how we met.
Yeah.
We're in a group together that offers accountability and support. And you said earlier, like just says these are the things that you should be focusing on, right? Because I'm kind of scattered otherwise. And so that is one example. I have intentionally made connections at work, with people that I know will kind of add to my network. And I think one of the things that I've gotten also much better at, like, it's so funny when you have less and less, I don't know, free time or flexible time. It's like you get so laser focused on like what's
Mm.
actually going to add value to my life. And so I've gotten a lot better at intentionally choosing people that I know are going to be, it's going to be a mutual relationship. It's not going to drain me. Like we all have people in our lives that drain us. And so intentionally spending less energy there and more energy in the few places that I do have as a network. When we adopted our daughter, like I didn't know anything about being a mom, which I guess nobody does. Like I have two sisters, they don't have kids. Like I just never was around children. And now I have one. So I got a parenting coach,
Yeah.
not when she was like a newborn, but as she started interacting and, like with the world, and I needed to help guide her and I didn't know how to do that. I got help. And so it's really a balance of like, there are things I need to know and I want to get that focused information. And so I'm going to pay for that. Or I need
Mm.
to choose people in my life that I'm not paying, right? But I'm in a relationship with that actually bring value and like lift me up and are there in a hard time or um, that kind of thing. So just intentionally. So my point really being that it's actually very few people, but I choose them intentionally. And so I feel like I have a very good network, even though it's not big.
Yeah, but I think that's important, because I think a lot of people think I need a big support network, or I don't have a lot of people locally in my life. How can I do this? I'm so alone, right? And it's like, okay, well, maybe you don't have a lot in terms of quantity, but it's the quality. So if you can have a couple
100%.
of people in your corner who are there for you, like that, what a big difference,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
does
love
make
that.
such a difference. Yeah.
Of course, as coaches, we have a coach for like everything. Like I had a book launch coach, I had like a life coach, I had a business coach. It's like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
once you're in it and you realize the power of coaching, you just
I
can't help
know.
yourself but to get a coach for
I know,
everything.
right? But I was thinking about the other day related to coaching, was like, so I have a counselor that I talk to like once a month, and I was thinking about the process of like finding her. And like if you're
Mhm.
looking for like a therapist or a counselor or whatever, like you have to go sit down with them and you have to like give this time, like is this a good fit? And I was like reflecting on that, like when I chose my the parenting coach that I worked with, like I got to know her just through social media. And I didn't need that as much. I mean, you could need a little bit, but I didn't need that like buffer time of like, who is this person and do I jive with them? And so I was just thinking it's just so different and so amazing how social media has let us just like you figure out who you want to work with
Yes.
before you ever even like pay them or interact with them, live. And I just thought, what a great thing, you know?
Yeah. Personal branding. That's what it's all about. It's so important. So for those of you that have a business, or even if we're in the corporate world, your personal brand is everything.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so I do like to keep it real because let's face it, like you said, entrepreneurship is not for everyone and it is not for the faint of heart. You're wearing many, many hats. So what would you say is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome since becoming an entrepreneur?
I think, to your point, is realizing that it is about your personal brand. And what I
Mm,
mean by that is just being yourself so people can actually know who you are. Like we all have areas of our lives where we're like not really 100% us, and that's exhausting. And you can't afford in entrepreneurship to go down a road that exhausts you, like on any level, right? Whether it's like the tech you're using or the coach you have or the audience you're talking to, or like if you can't just like be you and you don't have to put on at all, it that's what drains me, at least.
yeah.
And so it's like your personal brand like has to just be who you are, like at your essence. And it's like that's part of the hard part, and that's part of the beauty of it, right? Because people actually get to know you, and you're like, oh yeah, so like you want to work with me because of who I am and how I think about things and what I offer you. Like anybody can Google meal planning, right?
Right.
Like, it's just not about that. It's about you like the way that I think about this. You like the way that I problem solve in this area. This isn't a strength of yours. And so you are reaching out to somebody who it is a strength. And so I think that was like and it's this constant process, right? But from starting my business, and now it's just been a process of like revealing more of myself to
Hmm.
my audience and community, and even like my coaches and the coaches I, just network with, your business besties, all of those things. Because there is a sense of like you have to put up a front, like a kind of a storefront, right? You're a business, and just like breaking that down little by little over the course of time. It's so freeing, and it's so what makes the whole thing work, in my opinion. So that has been probably the hardest part. I'm an introvert. I'm a pretty private person. And it's not about that. It's not about revealing things about yourself that you don't want revealed. It's about just being who you are in whatever you're
Hmm.
talking about. And not trying to like please people. And so that's been probably my biggest challenge, and something that, as I say, I think it's just kind of ongoing.
Yeah, I think it's a common one. So if any other business owners are watching this, or catching the replay, make sure you comment below, like if this is resonating and this is something you felt. Because I know for me, like I've probably told this story a couple times, but I was on Clubhouse for a while. Remember Clubhouse was like a
Mhm.
big thing, and like every coach in the world seemingly was on there, and they
Yeah.
were all seven-figure coaches. And I'm like, why am I the only non-seven-figure coach? I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I suck at business. Maybe I should just go back to corporate. Like all these stupid thoughts were going through my head, and I had to go back to my why. Why did you start this business?
Mhm.
You didn't start this to become a seven-figure coach. Like I was in the depths of corporate and like so depressed, so hopeless, thinking
Mhm.
like, you couldn't pay me another dollar to stay here. I don't even care about the money anymore. I just want to
Mhm.
do something I love, something creative. I want to serve and help other women. Like, and I'm like, well, isn't that what you're doing? Okay, so you're not seven figures. So let it go. But, we allow these messages to get in sometimes, and we have to really remind ourselves like, forget about the outside world, forget about all the promises. Like, who do you want to be? Show up as
Mhm.
that person and forget about what everybody else is showing up like, because it just doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. No, that's so true. 100%.
Cool. So I know what everybody really wants to know is, what are your top 2 to 3 tips for stress-free dinners? Like, just give us a couple of golden nuggets here that we can all take away with us this week as we are meal planning.
Yes. Okay. So, the first thing I always say is like, meal planning requires planning,
Oh,
right? Like, I get that that's totally
shocker.
obvious, but at the same time, it's like you actually have to plan ahead, with meal planning. And so, like, coming to terms with that is, like, a really good place to start. But some of my best tips to just, like, get control of this, like, if you're new to it, if it stresses you out, if it feels overwhelming, is 1, to start earlier.
Mm,
So, what's today? Wednesday? So,
yeah.
tomorrow is Thursday, which in my world is Think Ahead Thursday. This is the day you start thinking ahead for meals next week. And the beauty of this is it's thinking about it. Like, you're choosing recipes. That's what I do on Thursdays. And I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if your typical week starts on a Monday. And so I'm giving myself a lot of room, a lot of margin, a lot of white space. And the only thing I'm doing is picking recipes. And that takes me like 10 or 15 minutes. And everybody has a block of time like that in their world. And so then Friday, I'm making a grocery list from those recipes. Like, I'm just giving myself room and I'm breaking it down into something that actually works for my life. Because what I hear all the time is, I don't want to have to take my whole weekend to prep meals. And it's like, I don't either. I don't do that. And yet I have meals planned for the week. So it just doesn't have to be that way. And then the other thing I recommend is start small. Um, if you're, again, overwhelmed, easing into this, new to it totally, is just plan like 1 or 2 meals for next week. We get in our minds that it's all or nothing. I have to plan 3 meals a day, 7 days a week for the rest of my life. Nobody wants to do that, right? Like,
That
nobody's
sounds
gonna take that
terrible.
on or even try that, right? And so start small. Like, whatever you're doing right now, it's happening. So just carve out like 1 or 2 dinners next week and say, I'm going to find a recipe, I'm going to buy the ingredients, and I'm going to prep them ahead. And just watch the magic, right? And then you can grow, you can build on that, because it's about establishing a habit. And the best habit to establish and start is a small one that you build on, and not this all or nothing thinking is just not helpful at all. And so then the last thing I would say is, there are shiny objects in meal planning, just like there are in, entrepreneurships, or that other corporate job's better than the one I have, or whatever. um,
Yep.
5 ingredient meals, 15 minutes or less, the latest kitchen appliance fad. You can run after it. It's not going to solve your meal planning problem. You still have to buy those 5 ingredients and prep them and think ahead about when you're going to serve that meal. And that's the piece that I feel like moms resist a little bit, or kind of they don't realize that that's where the magic is. The kind of recipe that you're using is so much less important than how you're approaching it, your perspective about meal planning. If you dread meal planning, every time you go into the kitchen, meal planning isn't going to be easy or fun or light. I don't care if it's how many ingredients are in there or how long the recipe takes. So those are band-aids, they're shiny objects.
Mm.
And everybody has their season where they're running after them. And then you get to the end of that season and you're like, something else needs to change. And that's where I come in.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love how you break it down and make it so simple, because I'm hearing meal planning and I got to be honest, in my head, I'm thinking an hour, 2 hours. What does this take? And like 10, 15 minutes, that's a no brainer. Like, you're right. We all have 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, how much time do we spend scrolling on these things, right?
Right.
Like, oh my gosh. And I know you have a Facebook group. What's it
I do.
called for women who want to join?
Yes, it's called Practical Meal Planning Moms.
Ooh, that's awesome. Maybe I'll drop that. I'll get the link for it and I'll drop it in the comments when we're
Yep.
done, so everybody will have that. We're gonna, if anybody has questions, by the way, I haven't seen any pop in, but if you have a question for Kare, just drop it in. Even if it's afterwards, we can always come back and answer them. But if you could say one thing to women who know that they want to make a change in their life, but they don't know how to get started, what would you say?
With meal planning or with anything?
With anything, but you can choose meal planning if you want. Either one.
I would say, like, listen to the nudge.
Mm.
Like, because that's what we do, is we turn it off. We're like, I'm not worthy of that. I shouldn't spend that money. I shouldn't take that time because this is about me. Like, all of those things that go through our heads, but like the nudge is there and it keeps being there. And I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. And so I would say, like, actually follow the nudge, and then find somebody who is doing what you want to do, and just ask them.
Yes.
Follow
Why
the
don't
nudge.
people do
Ask
that?
the question. Get curious about the nudge.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't listen to the nudge for 4 years and I stayed in
Mhm.
corporate way longer than I needed to. And I sometimes think about like, oh my gosh, you wasted so much time, but we can't change the past. So I just go, hey, we're here now. Oh, practicing that. Listen to the nudge. Love it. Thank you for sharing. Good. I'm so glad that that was helpful. Um, Cool. Well, I want to give a quick shout out too for my upcoming program, Success Without Sacrifice. So, if you've been feeling drained at work, you feel like you're sick of sacrificing time with your friends, your family, your health and wellness, you're not eating the right meals because you're so busy at work, then my program, Success Without Sacrifice, is a perfect fit for you. So, go to KarenFreeland.com/success. You can learn all about it. Applications are open right now, and the early bird, which is a $500 discount, is ending on Wednesday. So don't wait, get your application in. And I'm super excited because Kara has a special offer for anyone that is coming through that program so that we can also help you with your meal planning. So, Kara, do you want to announce it?
Yes, I am offering a $300 discount on my group program called Meal Planning Paradise. And it is exactly how it sounds. It is paradise for your meal planning because you are going to be walked step by step on the guided roadmap to creating a meal planning system. So it doesn't matter where you are with your meal planning, like this works for you to set up your own personalized meal planning system that works with your life and your schedule and your family and your picky eater kids and your, gluten-free diet and all of the things that I know we all have. And it's one of the major questions I get about meal planning is like, I feel like I'm unique in this way. So meal planning, traditional meal planning doesn't work for me. And so that's why I say I will guide you step by step in how to set up a system that actually works for you. So it's like, this is Karen Freeland's meal planning paradise. And it works and it's freedom on the other side. And so I would love to offer that discount for those of you who join Karen in her program. And we'll just reinvent your kitchen life at the same time.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you get my success blueprint. I can if I get it in there. So you
Yeah.
actually have like a 14-page document for like how your life is going to be mapped out going forward. And it's awesome. And so we'll map out your life and we'll map out your kitchen success at the same time. So Kara, I'm super excited to
Mhm.
partner with you on that because I think that's going to add a ton of
Wonderful.
value to the people who come through the program. If anybody has questions on either of those offers or anything that Kara and I talked about, feel free to drop comments in the Facebook group. And that wraps us up. We're 2 minutes over, but thanks everybody for hanging out with us. I hope this was beneficial. And most importantly, go rock your reinvention. Don't wait. Start today.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, Care.
Thank you, Karen.